welcome to the channel. How are you all? Hope you're all doing really well. It's an amazing day outside today. I was going to take you guys out and do this video, but the garden is a hot mess as we're having it done. Today I'm doing a quick Q&A session. It's basically a bunch of questions that I've received sort of like in recent months, and I'm going to collate them all into one video, and that video is this. How clever. So a lot of these questions are aimed specifically to sort of music photography, but I want to point out that a lot of them are business related, so regardless of which field of photography you'll want to work in, these are going to be pretty much useful for you, if that makes sense. So whether it's travel photography, portrait sessions, weddings, whatever, it's going to be pretty much similar, on par with it. So on that note, by the way, if you guys like the content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and let me know if you guys have got any other questions, because that's what I'm here for. So I'm going to get started in no particular order. What's your best approach to bring up your rates when speaking with clients? Also, how do you stay stern with your prices? So, best approach is finding out exactly what it is that your client wants from the session, how long the session will take. So is it going to be a 1 hour session? Is it going to be a half day session? Is it 4 hours? Is it a wedding where you'll be shooting for 12 hours or 8 hours, you know? You need to find out the exact sort of brief for that specific commission and work out your pricing. So if you have the intention of going full time as a photographer, or even you're starting and you want to start making a part-time earning, what you need to think about is how much do you want to make from your photography throughout the year. So if you're aiming for £24,000 for example, or £12,000, you need to work out how many commissions at a set price is going to get you to that point. So it's called reverse engineering, and you really need to think of it and price your projects based on that. How do you stay stern with your prices? If your clients don't like your prices, that's totally fine. There's going to be clients out there who will pay you for your the prices that you want to set. There's a client for everyone. Some people won't hire you because you're undercharging. Some people won't hire you because they don't have the budget. It's not necessarily anything to do with your work. It's not personal a lot of the time, so it depends on the clients that you're attracting. How do you tell someone you've worked with already for free for 2 shows, for example, that this time if you'd like me to shoot them then I'd need payment? So how do you go from working for free to a paying client with the same client? So in all honesty, if you've worked with the band or the client on a number of occasions, then you'll have built a relationship with them, and in that scenario, if you respect one another as people, and they think that your work's worth it, then they will pay you. I've had a recent scenario where my prices have increased from last year, and they were still trying to hire me at the previous rate, and I've just explained obviously my prices have increased, blah 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 blah, and we've been able to work on that together. So if they respect you, then that's totally fine. Sometimes clients won't have the budget, and it's one of those where if they love what you do, if they love you as a person, they're going to pay you. If you're on the same page. If they don't have the budget, then move on, but obviously from your next client, set the right expectation. Don't take it personal either. Some people, you might get to work with one client one time, next time they may not hire you. It's nothing against you personally. They might just be looking for something different in terms of the style of work that they're requiring for a commission or whatever it is. So keep that relationship going. There's no point of being bitter about it. It won't get you anywhere. How early do you get to shows? So this is specifically it's for concerts, but it's applicable to weddings, whatever it is you're shooting. Regardless of what it is that you're photographing, get there in advance. If you're at a wedding, get there in advance to do a location scout if you haven't already done one. If you are doing a portrait session, get to location to again make sure that you're on just on time, avoiding traffic, things like that. If you're doing a concert, obviously you want to go ahead and pick up the press pass. It's not uncommon for there to be communication issues between PR company and venue at times, so you just want to make sure that you get there, maybe for the support act if you can, and if not, then maybe like an hour before the main act is on and you should be fine. gives you plenty of time that way to sort out any issues you may have. How do you reach other people like magazines, labels, PR managers and so forth? So this is really easy. You want to be researching the contacts at the place that you're trying to get in contact with. So now obviously with websites and things, you can just go onto the about section and find direct contacts. When you're emailing people, make sure that you're actually personalising it. So don't send it to the company name, send it to a specific contact to reach out to them. And keep it short, because these people, they get, you know, they're working on email 7 days, pretty much 7 days a week now, and they don't have time to kind of go through paragraphs and paragraphs. Keep it short, keep it sweet, introduce yourself, ask, you know, at the end of the day, you're asking them for whatever it is you're getting, so that you're trying to pitch. So make sure that it's, you know, relative to them and how they're going to benefit from it first, and then you pitch what it is that you're offering. So it's about them, it's nothing to do with you. So bear that in mind. Any advice on how to reach out to management? So this again is banned, but it will work with clients as well. Is there any other client? Is there marketing, when you're running your own business or freelance, whatever you want to call it, 8% of what you do, no word of a lie, is marketing. If people don't know about you, they're not going to hire you. So you need to find a way that's going to work for you and your style of work, and reach out to them. So if you're on email, for example, yeah, that's great, but you've got to think, there's so many people reaching out on email. So where possible, think outside the box and try something a little bit different. I had an email from a editor at a huge publication here in the UK, and they basically said, we get so many of these emails every day, but I'm glad that I opened your email because your work's really amazing, it, you know, fits in line with what we're doing, blah 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 blah. So to get eyeballs on your work, it can be difficult, so think outside the box. How hard is it entering the field of music photography, and have you always wanted to go into gig photography? So music photography is so easy to get into these days, especially with blogs and publications, things like that. Monetizing your photography is different from how to get into photography. So that's a whole different ball game, and that's where your business business skills come into it. I can't speak today. It really is easy to get into. And have you always wanted to go into gig photography? To be honest, I didn't even know it was a thing when I was growing up. It's not something I've been exposed to. When I was younger, I used to go to a lot of concerts and things, but it never really clicked until I came back from travel. I'd learned my camera and I'd already shot a few concerts, so I thought, let's give it a go, and that's how I've kind of gone into portrait sessions and more live stuff and being hired by certain people and places. So it's been a natural process, and all I've done is basically stuck to doing what I love to do. It's one of those things, there's like some sort of quote about would you work for free if you were still doing the thing that you love to do, something like that. This is really a crap version of it, but yeah, I started out and I did a lot of free work, and even now I still shoot sometimes if it's a collaborative project, if both of us will benefit from it, like more like sort of creative stuff, it's still one of those things that I do. So yeah, naturally fell into it. In a densely crowded industry of house photographers and semi-pro photographers, what's the key to standing out from the crowd? To be honest with you guys, there's no difference between a semi-pro and a house photographer. That's really labels that you're giving to them. Just because you're a house photographer doesn't make it any less professional. It's that you're choosing to work at a specific venue. Semi-pro, I don't even know what that means. At the end of the day, if your work is good, you can get hired. I still work with local bands and artists that are unsigned, but on the other hand, I'm still shooting really great big shows and festivals. That doesn't mean that I'm semi-professional. It doesn't mean that I'm, any less better than whatever someone else is doing. It's just that I'm choosing that that's the right path for me, and it's the things that I enjoy. So to judge someone for doing, in-house or whatever, just scrap that. What's the key to stand out from the crowd? It's literally the signature of your photos and the style that you shoot. Every photo is definitely different. It's your post-production as well, so your editing style and the shots that you're taking. It's a mixture of different elements. That doesn't come overnight, that comes with practice and really kind of shooting the things that you enjoy. So just because you're a music photographer doesn't mean that you can't shoot documentary, because actually a lot of documentary comes into wedding photography, it comes into travel photography, things like that. So it takes a while to get your signature style and feel, or brand if you like. How do you do self-promotion? Self-promotion doesn't have to be expensive. Most of my work came through just having a blog. When I was in Australia backpacking, I had a blog where I was updating just my travel updates, and then when I came back to the UK, I literally started getting inquiries for paid work because I started to share my photography onto my blog, and with SEO and search engines, it was ranking for Manchester and London and whatnot, and that's how it, that's how it started. That was a free blog, guys. You don't have to think you've got to invest X amount of money to start getting clients. You do need a website eventually, but at first, just get out, start shooting, make contacts, things like that. There's no point of having a website and blogs and blah 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 if you don't have any work to share, even if it's just an image a week or once a month, something like that. Just start shooting. And then as soon as you start, getting more comfortable with it, then you can start sharing it more on social media, things like that. You'll notice that your work changes too, so don't be afraid to scrap your old work and keep rehashing it every 12 months. Because as you grow, your style grows, things like that, it's inevitable, it happens in everything. Same for weddings and portrait sessions. So how many gigs do you do per month? That depends. It might be hired. I could be hired from, with bands and stuff like that, or it could be publications. It depends. During festival season, it's less, but then during tour months, it's more. So it varies. Who's the biggest band you have photographed, and what's the furthest you've travelled? At the moment, I've only stayed within the UK. I hope that changes in time. And with regards to the biggest band, I've done Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran concert. I've done a whole bunch of these. Doesn't really matter if I'm shooting small local bands at the moment because they're still growing, or whether it's a big band or artist. At the end of the day, if you enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't matter who it is that you're working with. I think people are obsessed by shooting the bigger bands and artists and things like that. It's a whole process and a journey, guys. It's not just like that. It's great, yeah, to be able to shoot the bigger bands and venues, but it's not the be-all end-all. It's a whole process. You need to be in it for the long haul. What tips would you give for someone who's starting out as a gig photographer, and what is in your kit bag when shooting a live show? So if you're starting out, get onto the local scene, get to know people, start talking to people, start photographing, and just get started regardless of what kit you've got in your kit bag. So when I'm shooting at shows, I try to keep it really condensed and compact because I don't like to travel with too much kit, especially if I'm taking public transport, because I don't like to advertise the fact that I've got gear on me. So I tend to shoot with a Canon body, and then I've got this 24-70 Sigma lens 2.8 and 70-200 2.8 by Canon. They're not the imperative sort of must-have lenses. You guys can get started. One of the first lenses that I started on was a 50mm prime lens by Canon. I think it was about £100 at the time because it was a 2.8. You can get the f1.4 version, which is great for low light photography, for less than 200 quid. So it's not about having the latest and greatest. You can get a second-hand body. It's more about your lens. Get a second-hand lens. As long as it's working, you're fine, guys. Until you start seeing money from it, there's no point in putting that much money into it. It's an investment. What's it like to be a freelance photographer? I love it. I'm not gonna lie. There's pros and cons of every joy, even when you're self-employed. Your income can fluctuate quite a bit, but there is ways of getting consistency through marketing strategies, things like that, and repeat clients, so that's not a huge thing. One of the things that I really love is being on my own time. Sometimes it can get super busy, sometimes it can be less busy, so you've got to be adaptable to different situations. In all honesty, it's not uncommon to get really last minute bookings, so sometimes you feel like you don't have a life because you're constantly waiting for your next booking or whatever. In terms of cons, mental health is a big one. I struggled with working by myself from home, so there's no shame in having like a part-time job whilst you're still figuring things out. You wear a lot of different hats when you're freelancing and self-employed. Doesn't matter what business you have, you're learning a lot, you're doing a lot, you're jumping around quite a bit. So I'd recommend really getting a coach if you can, or a mentor that can help you sort of clarity what you should and shouldn't be doing, because a lot of people waste time doing things that aren't impactful in running your own business or being a freelancer. So if you can invest in a coach or a mentor, definitely recommend that. But cons, yeah, definitely mental health is a big one. I struggle with it quite a bit, so one of the things that I'm doing at the moment is teaching a lot more, just to get that engagement with people. And actually I've got some exciting news coming up soon regarding that over the next few probably weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. but I'm branching out my business basically to a lot more teaching as well as still photographing, working with clients. What are the basic earnings for someone who's starting out as a gig photographer? In all honesty, gig photography is a difficult one because if you're working with unsigned artists, they don't have a huge budget, whilst if you're working with record labels, they tend to have a bigger budget. If you are able to pick up video skills as well, if you don't already have them, I definitely recommend getting that because more record labels are hiring people that have got photography and video skills, especially with social media and stuff. So the more that you know in terms of just media, different forms of media and technology, the better you're going to be in terms of pitching for projects and actually getting them. So it can vary, I'm not going to lie. I mean, personally I do a lot of portrait sessions, I take on weddings, I prefer to have different things that I work with because I have that personality where I get bored easily, so I have to be doing different things. So it's not to say that you don't have to, but you may find that it works out a little bit differently for you. So your earnings are really just depending on you. Coming back to the reverse engineering, if you want to make 50,000 a year, you need to work out which areas of your business are going to bring in that revenue for you and work out backwards. So although, yeah, basically have a business plan or something that's going to give you a strategy to work on that. What other bit? What? When shooting at a venue, would you need a press pass to take photos, or would you contact the band? If you're working sort of, if you're not working with the record label or management directly, it's going to be a press pass through a publication or something. If you're working with the band directly, then they sort out the pass for you. Or if you work in access all areas, of course you're going to have access to everything. What are the main copyright requirements for gig photography? The copyright lies with the photographer. In the case that if you sign a contract or a photo release, read the T's and C's on that. So if it says anything about copyright, transferring the copyright to the record label or manager, don't sign it, don't go to the show. It's not worth it, you're not going to make any money from it. Simple as that, really, guys. In terms of health and safety at gigs, what precautions would you take to make sure everything runs smoothly? Drink a lot of water because you may, depending on the show, if you're there for like a full hour, if you're working with the band, it gets hot and sweaty depending on the show that you're shooting. If you are shooting just the first 3 songs and leaving, totally fine, especially just drink water before you go, essentially. The security guards are there for a reason in the photo pit, guys. Be respectful of them, they're doing their job, they're there to protect you as well as the fans that are in the crowd. So be aware, keep looking over, because if you're shooting a rock show, it's not uncommon to get kicked in the head by the crowd surfer. So you just gotta be cautious, and also don't be a dickhead to other photographers. You just need to be, just be nice. You're there, it's just like any other job, you just have to be switched on. It is a job, it's not just like a fun hobby. Well, it is for some people, but you know what I mean. What qualifications would you need? You don't need any qualifications to be a photographer, guys. It's not something that I've done. Would I recommend someone to go to college, to uni for photography? Personally, no, I don't think it's worth the investment. So many resources online. There's a lot of things that you can self-teach. However, if you're the academic type and you learn by the theory aspect of things, entirely up to you. I went to college and uni, it was related to media, and then I've kind of niched down to photography, but I didn't have any photography modules. Everything that I've learned is self-taught even, and I don't think personally that you need to go to uni or college or whatever or qualification for photography. What else is there? I think that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope that you found this video useful. If you guys have got any questions, just comment down below. I do enjoy doing these Q&As. It's a little bit long, but hopefully it was resourceful. Don't be afraid to come and say hi on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram as well. To you guys who have connected over Instagram, it's really great to hear from you. I like connecting with people that I'm kind of speaking, the viewers on YouTube and things like that. So come say hi. And I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notifications button too. And I'm going to leave it at that for now. And I'll be back soon. See you guys later.